Puan
Hello,
Aisha.
hello. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Montessori Association Malaysia Facebook. YouTube Live. This is our first, obviously. We're a bit nervous about it, but then we're trying to do it all by ourselves, inshallah, in order to reach out to people, reach out to everyone out there, so that we can further our cause and share a lot of things. So I'm Aisha. I'm Aisha Abdullah. I'm running the Montessori Association of Malaysia with a great team. And we've been around for about 13, 14 years now, Montessori Association Malaysia, alhamdulillah. And we're really, really happy that we're still at it. Okay. So today, without further ado, no frills and stuff. We will just go straight into it. Today we have a talk about early literacy development, a hot topic always, because as you know, our population is growing and there's always a lot of young parents, and we're very keen to make sure our children have a great start so that they can express themselves and communicate effectively. As we all know, the 21st century skills, the 4 C's, right? Communication is one of them, critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration, right? So, how can you collaborate if you can't communicate? So, communication is really important. So, today we have here our guest, Swee Li, who is no needs real introduction because her accolades is too long to read. But she's been in the Montessori scene for the longest time, a trained Montessorian, a trainer, practitioner, and is extremely passionate about how children can develop, especially in the language area, literacy area. And she has done quite a few workshops for Montessori Association Malaysia, and she trains many other people, of course. So I'm not going to hog the limelight. I will just hand over to Swee Li right now. And Swee Li, please, by all means, please fill in the gaps of anything that you think our audience should know about. Like, don't be modest. You're language developmentalist and all that, and you've done different languages and everything. So please do tell us more about this. And then we'll go on with the talk about early literacy development. And after you've talked a bit about yourself, I will prompt you with one burning question. So over to you, Swee Li.
Thank you. Thank you, Puan Aisha. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Swee Li. I've been teaching for almost 10 years. My mentor is Puan Aisha, and I came across Montessori through Puan Aisha and also Ruth Liu. So when I first met them during a workshop, literally, I got goosebumps listening to them throughout the workshop. And it just occurred to me, like this is really what I needed in life. And basically the from the philosophy, the approach, the theory, everything appealed to me. And it helped me to understand how children learn. Yeah. So I'm currently actually I have my own company called Earth Child Education, which actually stands for EEC, Early Childhood Education. Yeah. So I started this company mainly, to focus on research on how children learn, and mainly to apply concrete materials in teaching, because all form of education are abstract ideas. And since I work with young children, the need to explain ideas to them through applying concrete materials is necessary. Yeah. So that's a bit about my background. I'm
Okay.
actually very much an introvert, so talking about myself is not one of my greatest strengths.
Yes, yeah, you're very modest. But yeah, we should be proud about of what we've done so far, what we've culminated into. We are, after all, part of the universe, and here we are to help, to help everything and everyone here. So not to worry. So I think let's just go on with the chat.
Mhm.
Why don't we start with the burning question I was talking about, right? A lot of parents are asking, uh, we've got our babies here, but they can't. They're just babies. They make noise, funny sounds. They cool, gurgle, and laugh, and how. What is the best start, and what are the best practices for all our children? How best to start us off in order that and maintain in order that our children will be able to sustain a manageable and reasonably good sense of control over their literal capabilities, their linguistic capabilities, so that they can communicate effectively, and really bring more goodness as they go along with good communication. That's the burning question. Parents are asking, what should I do with our children? What's the best things to do to our children and continue to do with our children for good, enriched literacy?
Now, language acquisition comes naturally. It is innate, within all of us, the need to communicate in order to survive. Now, in infants, their language acquisition begins from birth. And how? How do we create that? Through a language-rich environment, right from the infancy. Now, a mother is, I guess, the main person, that an infant interacts with. So the need for the mother to interact with the child frequently, talking to the child, singing to the infant. Now, I was actually watching a video on this, and it showed the interaction between the mother and the infant. Now, what happened was, the mother at first interacted with the infant, singing, and then with all kinds of expressions and all that, highly animated interaction, and the baby responded. Then the mother turned away and then turned back, but with a blank expression. Now, what happened then after that was the baby still, attempted to interact with the mother. So the interaction went on, but when the mother's face was blank throughout, the child became frustrated. So early interaction is very important. How you speak to your child. When you bathe your infant, that's actually a way you talk through the whole process of bathing. Okay, now mommy is scrubbing your body. Do you like it when I rub your little tummy in circles? Oh, what lovely feet you have! Those cute chubby little toes. So you describe and run through the whole process. This method of talking is what I call cook host, as if you're hosting a cook show. So basically, you're talking the child through every process, regardless of how old the child is. And that's how you introduce, vocabulary. Uh, you know, yeah, that's how you introduce language to them. And young children require that. In fact, a lot of research has shown that there's a huge difference in vocabulary acquisition between a child from poor poor social economic background versus a child who is raised by middle income to upper income parents. It is all a result of how much the parents speak to their children every day. So communication, interaction, talk, talk, talk. That's basically the gist of my message. Talk as much as you can. And I'm also speaking from experience since I'm working with young children. The amount of talking that I do in one day, you know, towards the end of the day, there are many times that I lose my voice because I've been talking the whole day.
Yes, thank you, Swee Li. That's the good start. I mean, that's the most important start of all, right? I mean, we think that our children are so helpless. How could they possibly understand us? And as you mentioned, that approach to our children, talk like you're a chat show host, like I am
Yeah.
supposed to be like right now. I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm a chat show host, even to my students, online students in class. You talk to them, sincerely, earnestly, even though they're little babies, they can barely walk and talk, and as you mentioned, daily activities. I'm going to wash your body now. I'm going to wash under your ear. A little bit like that reassurance for the child that we provide. Yeah, I don't know.
Songs
Yeah,
too.
songs, all that. It's a little bit like if some of us have been to the dentist, right? And we're all very apprehensive. And then, but the dentist then
Yeah,
talks us through. I'm going to just clean this part of the mouth, or you're going to have a water jet, and that sort of thing. So basically, the dentist is concerned about us and has respect for us. So that's what we need to do with our children. Am I right? So we need to
true.
show respect and talk to them.
Respect
And
for the child.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
And also, like talking your child through a process, you're actually leading the child to know what to expect. Especially, I mean, if you're dealing with, infants and all that, there are some things that, some new experiences that are so new to them.
Yes, I think the easiest way to do, people say, how so difficult? How do you work with small children? How do you do it? But I think
Yeah.
I find till today, not that I'm saying it's easier for me or anyone else, is that you empathize and put yourself in the position of the child as if you are that child, looking through the child's eyes, breathing through his nose, speaking through his mouth, and listening to what his ears hear, and empathize in the sense that you understand what the child's going through. Like, let's say we want our child to learn to brush their teeth, and they're like, oh, it hurts, mommy, it hurts. And how do we know it hurts? Right? So, I don't know, the way that we teach our children to brush our teeth, maybe we could try it in front of them and say, oh yeah, it does hurt a little bit. Let's buy a softer
Yeah.
toothbrush, or anyway, the willingness to want to experience what our children experience, right?
Hmm.
That way they feel like, oh, we are so interested into going to their world and interested in how they feel and all that, So that makes them very confident and want to have more of your attention and possibly to want to do more talking, chatting, right? I
True.
see it's that sort of logic. Yeah. Yeah, carry on, sweetie.
So, the younger the child is, the more the need to talk to your child. Um, yeah. Now, you know, and listen to your child. Listen to your child. They need attention. You know, so whenever your child speaks, and if your child speaks, with errors in their language, grammatical errors. Now, as a Malaysian, and what I've observed with most Malaysian parents, and this is also how I have been brought up. Whenever I make a mistake, the first thing that the parent will react is, "No lah, that's not correct. I already told you. Don't say like this. Don't say yesterday I go." Now, what the child actually hears is first disapproval. And then you are repeating every mistake that the child just made, therefore emphasizing the mistake. Now, a better way of doing things is you echo the correct sentence. Means you're elevating on what the child just said. As example, if your daughter says, yesterday I go to the park to play. Now the tense is wrong, so you echo subtly from behind. Oh, I think you mean yesterday I went to the park. So, number one, you're not putting down your child. Number two, the child gets to learn the syntax, the rules behind grammar. So emphasize on the correct sentence, but say it subtly in the background. Repeat the same sentence, but correct all the errors. And I just want to share this incident in my classroom. A group of my 5-year-olds, they were chatting, and I usually encourage them to talk, especially during lunch when we're having meals together. There's a lot of talking among them. So mainly, in my classroom, I try to create that family atmosphere with them. So as we eat, we talk together. So this little boy was relating something to a friend. And this is how he spoke. I'm just going to try to imitate him as much as possible. So, I was telling her, lo, cannot like this one, ma. Why, Yes, lah, that's why. I keep saying, lah, cannot, lah, no, lah. After about 5 minutes into the conversation, this little girl was listening on, and I noticed that her brow started to crease. She started to frown. And then she interrupted the boy. Can you try not to say lo, ma, na? This is not even English. They are not English words. And that came from my 5-year-old. So now, where do you think this child came about speaking like this? From his environment, most likely from home. So if you want to speak English, or if you want Mandarin, or any language for that matter, to be a primary language at home, then be aware of how you speak at home. If it's English, then try to eliminate all the Malaysian suffix and prefix. That's awareness.
Yes, this is we don't know whether it's a novelty or bane of our language here in Malaysia. I mean, we've got such a diverse population, right? Yeah. And we well speak English with their own accent and accent or whatever.
Intonations.
Intonation and the syntax you're talking about. But nothing beats having good grammar. Okay? Nothing good grammar, good pronunciation, etc.
Pronunciation.
After all, we want to try to speak good English, right? And it doesn't cut that we just send them for English classes, as you mentioned. The enrichment, the environment is extremely important. Now, I can just think of audience saying, "Oh, how am I going to do that? I've spoken like this all my life," and and all that. So perhaps some examples. Swee Li, you might think of how parents can do this and make it a habitual thing, right?
It has exactly how we speak. How we speak is part and parcel of the culture and the society that we're within. And I also noticed like in language learning and all that, those people from a Mandarin speaking background, they actually have difficulty in pronouncing certain consonants, like the letter R, letter L, and also what I observe is that many of them have a tendency to use he, for genders, whether it's regardless of whether it's female gender or male gender. Many of them would just stick to he. And I realized that could partially be due to their primary language, because basically the ability to pronounce and all that, if English is your primary language, then from young you've been speaking like that, so your articulators have all already formed to enable you to articulate in that language. That is why like learning a second language and all that will still be a challenge. And of course, overcoming your habits. So a lot of it, have to lead back to mindfulness as well.
Yes, there's mindfulness, being aware, consciously aware of saying the S's when you mean it plurally, right? And saying the right tense when you speak, using verbs and all that. I learned a different language when I was in my teens, and I found that the best way to remember, is to practice it, like how you practice the piano, the verb conjugations, which is the right forms for first person, second person, third person, and it helps, obviously. So if it's not your mother tongue and you want to improve it, by all means, go back to basics and practice, right? That's really,
Exactly.
It's the best thing.
True point, Aisha. Now, I pick up Dutch language as an adult. What I found really helpful in learning a new language is immersion within the society. Because then, you're surrounded by people who speak that way. So similarly, let's say if you want, to speak English well, then you go to that crowd of people who speak English well. Like in my case, I was living in the Netherlands for a while, and that actually helped me to pick up Dutch language within a period of 1 year, and I could even sit for the foreign language exam and pass it in 1 year as well. You see, so immersion, because language is very much related to your social network, the society, the people around you and all that, because language is used to communicate with those around you. Yeah, for Aisha.
So, for lots of us, I mean, my children are all grown up, and when they were first born, my spouse and I, we decided that one of us would speak our native language, our first mother tongue language, and the other will speak the other language. So supposedly, I was supposed to speak in English, and my husband then was supposed to speak in Malay. But I found it a challenge, even though I'm more of an English speaker than a Malay one. And I found it such a challenge because Malay is such an endearing beautiful poetic language, especially when it comes to dealing with little children. You cannot but help want to speak in a sing song, soft, gentle way, singing lullabies to them. So I failed because I was supposed to just keep it in English. Okay. So the point is, research has shown that we don't need to worry about, well, we shouldn't have to worry about having our children be exposed by too many languages. And it all depends on the child, as you say, the environment and all that. But as long as they have one basic language first, which is important. So let's say your mother tongue is Mandarin or Malay or even English, for the years 0 to 6, it's important that you have that as your basic language. You still speak to it in in Malay if you're Malay speaking and so on and so forth. But if you want to add on a second language, in order for the child to make sense of things, their first language needs to be strong, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So how can it be strong if we do not have the environment for them? And if they want to add the second language at the same time, we have to gauge how things are with the children. Are they responding well? Are they sensitive to it? And so on and so forth. Is it a matter of survival? Like, let's say you send your child to a French school. So children are very absorbent, and if it's a matter of survival, they will pick up at the school because the environment is there. They're immersed in the environment at the school. If you want to do it at home, both two languages or three at the same time, you need planning. You need to do it properly, right? Yeah. So I think either the parents need to plan well, make decisions, so on and so forth. But what we would like to try to avoid is to have our children just touching on it. We would love for our children to be bilingual and trilingual by giving the right amount of environment and coaching and whatever that in languages that's not in their native, their mother tongue. Okay, we would love to be able to do that, but there's so much that we can do. But what we don't want to do is, like you say, we relapse. Suddenly our English is not so good. That's one thing. It's
Yeah.
the yeah, and then the grammar and everything so it's broken and whatever, and then we relapse and we mix also with the other language. Then our children have an idea of what both languages, and they go along in a in a mediocre sort of level, uh, to be mediocre in both, not good in both.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. True.
challenge. So, if parents really want to go about doing this the best way, the right way, and if you don't know, then yeah, best is to consult a language developmentalist, especially your children. Engage also, engage your child. I had a friend whose husband was German, she was Filipino, and they had a mate who was Indonesian. And the poor boy, the boy grew up, he could speak smatterings of a few, but not clearly. But as soon as he's grown up, grown a bit older, he was fine. Very well versed in all three languages. So it really depends how much of effort you want to put in it. But you're right. So let's focus
Sure.
today on the one language at the moment. Okay, so you talked about how we speak English, Malaysian style English. I know it pains me. I've been told, I've been glad at many, including my own children, and who say things like in their looks, "Mama, we know you're silently correcting my sentence. Please stop it." Right? Or friends who have a disclaimer before a conversation. You say, "Asha, just listen. Don't worry about my grammar." Okay? Because as a teacher, it's just sensitive to us. So, I mean, they have a point in a way, right? They just want to express themselves. So, our children, right? They just want to express themselves. But as much as you can, especially when they're younger, we show them what's the best practices. As you say, when they made a mistake, we what do you say? You repeat them without making
You
them feel.
repeat. You repeat the correct sentence in the background.
That's right. Yeah. So simple practices like that. Yeah. I'm sure you've got a lot more ideas and a lot more to tell us in terms of the development of, so much to do as a new parent. Yeah, I can't remember what I did with my kids. All I remember as my children were young is I always told them, "Where's your book?" Not one of these things, right? Not these devices, because in those days, 20 years ago, they didn't have them. Yes, but I always said, "Where's your book?" Our children will look up to us for entertainment. Can we go shopping? Can we buy this and that? But I would preempt them and say, "Where's your book? Where's your book?" It's like you must have a book with you all the time to look at, talk about, and so on. Yeah. So that's, I don't know how that came about, but I did it until today. I have problems taking their eyes off their book and say, "Come have dinner," lunch or whatever, because the book, gives them so much vocab and transports them and stuff, right? So from early on, if that's a habit, I think that'd be one lesser vessel for you to work at. But also, the parent must read also, right? You want them to read.
Reading out loud.
Yes, that's right. Anyway, carry on, Swee Li, please.
Yeah. So um, in the 70s, yeah, in the 80s, yeah, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. So both my parents, yeah, bless them. I think they gave me a very good start in life because both of them were teachers as well. And working, in public school, of course, the salary was minimal. But yet, regardless of, you know, their means and such, what they usually did, for me and my brothers and sisters, they usually brought us to a bookshop. Now, there were secondhand bookshops, um, in McAllister Road in Penang. Yeah, I'm a Penang girl. So, that was where I got all my storybooks from. And back then, I grew up reading Enid Blyton books. So, one of my favorite book was The Faraway Tree. And that sparked out my imagination to be among the characters and, being transported into this large tree and going out, into this imaginative world. And that also sparked out my ability to write. My essays, yeah, when I was in a primary school, was one of my strengths. I wrote very well. So, yeah, create, a culture to read. Create a culture that loves books. Many, I mean, now with technology and such, what has taken over is handphone parenting. And that I find is unfortunate. Yeah. Anyhow, we are not here to talk about handphones. I I brought a book today to show y'all, like how to introduce a book to young children. Basically, books are still a concept. Now, this would be helpful, if you are reading to children from age 3 and above. Just let them know how to handle a book and what does a storybook do. Yeah. So I'm just gonna demonstrate now how I usually read a book to my children. Okay. So okay, all right. So I kind of like this book because it's Earth Day now. Okay. So basically, you want to introduce the concept of a book. So a book has a cover. Okay, I can't figure out my angle. Okay, a book has a cover, and on the cover there's a title. Then you want to tell the child. Now the title says "We Love Trees." Can you tell from the title what the book is all about? So you're implying now the purpose of a title. And then you tell the child, do you know that good books are written by someone? And the person who does all the right thing is called an author. So you create a new vocabulary, an author, and what does an author do? And then you tell them, do you like those pictures in this book? Now, a person who does all the beautiful drawings of the pictures are called an illustrator. Can you say that word? It's a big word, illustrator. Emphasize again. So here you've already introduced the concept of a book cover. Yeah? And then you move on to your reading the contents. Now, when you read with expression. And then once in a while, pause and look around you, especially, if this might be good, if you're a young teacher or what. Once in a while, pause and then scan your students to see if they're still paying attention. If their attention dwindles and they get restless, then invite them into the book. That's where your interaction comes in. Use the images of what? Hey, I spot a little mouse hiding behind a bear, as an example. Then the child, will, oh, yes, teacher, I see. Let me have a look. So you pause to interact. And then when you read a sentence, pause again and ask, what do you think is happening here? That's when you test if the child comprehends whether the child is still with you. Yeah? Now, the choice of books also matter. It has to be age appropriate. Age appropriate means that you want to study the contents and all that to see that the words and even the images are suitable to the age category that you're reading. So, with younger children, of course, there are fewer words. And then the illustrations. I find too, that illustrations are important. Because when children, are not able to read yet, they rely mostly on the pictures. And it's the pictures that would draw their attention into the book. So I just need to share, an experience that I had with my children too. I was teaching a group of my kids on rhyming. So the book that I picked was Dr. Seuss' Cat in the Hat. Now, the cat was, so full of tricks, balancing a fish in a bowl, balancing on an umbrella, and then balancing on the cat's head and all that. So these children are 5+. So it could relate, to their life. Because at this age too, they're all like cheeky, mischievous and all that. So they were literally on their toes to find out what the cat would do next. And it became one of their favorite books. So subsequently, when I finished the chapters from the Cat in the Hat, I changed to Dr. Seuss' sleep book. And throughout, the sentences, it was like counting snores and the characters falling asleep. In the middle of my reading, several of my students actually fell asleep. So, choosing the correct book, doing your research, the words and all that have to be meaningful to the child whom you're reading to. That's why too, like when I teach language, yeah, I do not support, textbook teaching. Too much reliance on textbook. Because textbooks, yeah, they are mass produced for schools and all that. And then they give you a bunch of words as vocabulary for your child. But the words do not necessarily, have any meaning to your child. That's my take on
Okay, so there's quite a bit, that you've brought up. You talked about so far. In order for us to get through to our children,
Yeah,
and also emulate good practices, so that if
good
other parents are
practices,
watching, we talk about respect, correcting our children with respect. Um,
respectfully.
yeah, so you need to be aware of how you yourself speak, right? At home, are
True.
we enunciating well enough? Even if it's a moment that involves a speed, hurry, catch the bus, not the bus. What about the bus? Just even in moments of speed and what have you, and notwithstanding our cultural differences, whatever language you use, as long as it's used in a proper way, at least for our children to at least be aware that there is a proper way of using our words, right? So much in the environment that they can absorb from, and making that effort to immerse learning that language, right? Learning that language, many ways you can go about it, as you know, depending on the age of your children, right? You want to learn new names of food, then have the food there, something like that. Okay.
Exactly.
So always have we try to have a good start to it all, even if we feel that our some of our audience, or some of our people, the economic status is not as well as we would like everyone to be at. Nevertheless, visit bookstores. There's so many around that allow you, that encourages you to just sit down and read book. Libraries in our time,
Otherwise, the libraries, yeah.
yes, the libraries. And children, of course, they respond most to illustrations, and they can talk about the illustrations. We too can talk about the illustrations. So I think most definitely, it's really, you have emphasized on this, such an important start from very young, to have the environment full of prompters, stimuli, so that children will,
Stimulus.
will take it and express themselves, try to say things, and be comfortable to say these things. So our parents, our teachers, we ourselves need to be comfortable with all that. So what next, really? I mean, obviously the child will grow up and see you writing, see the parents writing, see the parents reading. What about that? Is there a certain order of things that we should introduce our children into? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So earlier on, we were talking about oral communication, and now we are moving on then towards something that is more an academic skill. Now, oral communication, yeah, provides a child, with a rich vocabulary, and with that vocabulary, you're giving them a foundation then to comprehend later on what they will be reading. So vocabulary supports a need, supports comprehension. Yeah. Now, how do we build upon reading readiness? So just now, I was illustrating the concept of print, the first introductory to book, the concept of book, and then subsequently, you want to show them what words are. Yeah. Now, the words is the first introduction to the concept of print. Words are composition of sounds. Basically, language is a system of sounds. So when you approach language learning through a whole word teaching and all that, what is happening is actually the child is taught to memorize, learning without making sense of what they're reading. Now, now I'm speaking as from my background as Montessori teacher. Now, Montessori was one of the earliest of teachers, um, and who approached learning from the scientific side of learning. what I try, to tell, my younger teachers is that all form of subjects, whether you're teaching mathematics, the sciences, and even language, they actually extract ideas. The letters of the alphabets are man-made. Some clever person wrote up how A should look like, how B should look like, how C should look like. So, literacy will not happen naturally. Communication will. Every child will be able to talk, unless if the child has a hearing problem, the child has some kind of is highly insular through genetic diseases like ASD, which makes the child highly insular. Then language acquisition will not happen. Yeah, but literacy is totally different. You need to be taught. You have to go through some kind of formal education to learn how to read. So, what Dr. Montessori did, when she taught language was she demonstrated it with concrete objects. So, object-based learning. And one of her philosophy too was that children learn better through their hands. The hands, actually your hands, relates very much to the activity in your brain. So, the finer your motor skills are, your fine motor skills are, apparently the more intelligent you are. Yeah? So, okay. Montessori's approach to language teaching. First, why would a child want to bother to read? So you must entice the child that words have meaning. So choose the words, the first words that you teach, choose it wisely. Like what Montessori did was, she taught her students the word mama. Yeah? So breaking up the whole word, mama has 2 syllables. So chopping up the syllables into ma, ah, and then subsequently chopping it up again into smaller bite pieces. And ah makes ma. Yeah, and then she allowed the child to experience constructing the words again. And there comes all her language tools. Now, one of the language tools that she created and that's been used for more than a century is the sandpaper letters. So, Montessori advised that children should learn how to write first and then read because she found that that is more natural. And coming from, her approach, which emphasizes activity, I guess, it is natural then for her to suggest that writing comes first. So in the sandpaper letters, they are letters of the alphabet from A to Z, cut out in its shape and then mounted on a hard cardboard. So all the while, for example, the child will be tracing the shape of the letters. Tracing it, trace again, as the adult pronounces the sound. So there are all kinds of stimuli at work. Tactile, the hand, and then the child hears auditory stimulus occurs. Then subsequently, she knew that her children are not ready to write yet. So her idea was she wanted to lead towards reading and writing. So that came about the large removable alphabets, the concrete object. So I brought some to show you. Letter A. And then she introduced, the sound of the letter eh, eh, eh. So the children were handling these three-dimensional letters. And subsequently, and what she taught first was the vowel letters. Why? Because vowels are the glue to words. Yeah? So subsequently, after teaching a vowel sound, she taught a consonant sound. Uh. This is And then she would merge them together. N. So you have your family of sounds already. N. Oh.
You could put, yeah. Yes.
N. And then, okay. Subsequently, you're going to merge them again. Okay, hang on. From here, oops. Should I? From here, after getting the family of sounds, the child can begin making words. K, N. And then you go on, to another consonant sound. B, N, ben. So you do not delay reading at all. After the child is introduced to several consonant sounds and a vowel sound, the child is actually already building words. So there's not a necessity, to learn from letter A to letter Z. Now, what is happening here now is most of the parents are teaching the names of the alphabets. And frankly, I find that it does not add value because words are a composition of sounds. So teach the phonemes, the sounds of the letters, instead of the name of the letters. So I'm just going to summarize now. Yeah, what we shared, what I shared with you all today. Oral communication happens naturally. Yeah, it's an innate need, for everyone to communicate. So, since infancy, an infant will always try to interact with you. So, the more you interact with your infant, the better. Talk, sing, and then talk through the daily things that you do with them. And as you talk, you are first, preparing them, like for a bath, what they can expect. And at the same time, you're injecting so many words. So the more you talk, the more your child will, have a rich vocabulary to have their foundation in. So once, you've set up that foundation for them, then in a way, it makes my life as a teacher easier. So when I introduce, early literacy, I already know, okay, child A has talkative parents, so he has a wide vocabulary. All right. Then comes early literacy. So early literacy, words are a composition of sounds. You break the words into small bite pieces, and then after that, you guide your child to construct the word again. And in psychology, that's called constructive learning. Yeah,
okay. Thank you, Swee Li. Thank you. You've really clearly laid out the important first basic steps to an enriching literacy environment that hopefully our young parents, even grandparents, right? Grandparents are with the babies
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yes. And anyone working with children, anyone wanting to have, to be involved with children, working with children, how important it is for them to show a good example. Because as we all know, I
Mhm.
mean, we don't want our talk now to go branch out into the philosophy of Montessori and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think everybody knows that children are so absorbent, so sensitive, and all that, especially in their early years from 0 to 6,
The first,
even
yeah,
yeah, as young
0 to 5.
as 6 months can differentiate between the mother's voice, the father's voice, or whether there's the newspaper man outside, or the or the dog barking, that listening and all those skills. We should expose to our children as much. And as you say, commentate. Like a host chat. So look, oh,
The
you can
host chat.
you can hear the rain, or all that. They have that conversation with the children, and then you know how much easier can it get? They're young, they're looking to you, they're excited, and especially as we're excited, we're wanting to, as parents, grandparents, and anyone working with children, wanting to bring out the best out of the child. We have to be conscious, lah. I don't know how else to say it. We have to have our on button, right? We're going to switch ourselves on
Yeah,
and
you have to switch
consciously
yourself on.
consciously say it. And even if it means that it's a simple conversation over dinner or tea time, to
It's
make the effort of, oh, I
describe,
wonder, describe, yeah, I wonder what
describe the
goes,
food and all
yes,
that.
I wonder what goes into this goreng pisang, or into this the chokodok, the preferred, the really
Yeah,
yummy Malay. I wonder what goes. Okay, they're called fritters. Okay, what does it go? What goes in there? Flour and all that, and just acting all out, like make it yourself,
like
right?
self talk.
Self-talk.
As an adult too, when sometimes when we are learning a new skill,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll talk ourselves through it. But
Yeah.
now you are purposely doing it because your child is your audience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're just talking through, oh, now mommy is putting on her eyeshadow. Mommy's putting on her foundation. just
Yes.
just talk,
Mm-hmm.
talk through,
Absolutely.
the
Yes.
daily
Yes.
your daily process in life.
Hmm. And really, the world is your oyster, right? If you're a scientist, and an aviator, a teacher, or even a lawyer, artist, all the tools that's needed, the words needed in your work, talk about it with your children, right? I mean, just pick it
Yeah,
up so that we
correct.
can, yes, all your periodicals, magazines about your work, leave it around, let them have a look, and let them share your life. And not necessarily just reduce it to, okay, it's story time, it's bedtime, we're going to use one book. Yeah. So I think our audience can possibly feel, hopefully, that we are really taming ourselves
Hmm.
today to give a simple, gentle introduction to early literacy development. How it is, we've probably just given like maybe what 10% or something like that. The
Yeah,
important good
it's
start,
still.
yeah. So if parents out there, grandparents, if you're wanting more ideas about how to help our children maintain a good grasp of the language, drop us a line in our Facebook page, even the comments in our YouTube channel. Please like and share, even subscribe to our channel,
Yeah,
because hopefully Swee Li and I and many of our other Montessori's out there, any of the Montessori's out there watching too, do join us to help share great ideas, how we can bring out the best in our children, the best start to language, to any other subject they'd like to think about. Um, Hopefully, Suli and I will be back, because looking at the time, it's a full hour already, and I'm sure everybody would like to move on with what they like to do for the weekend, as well as, yeah, come back to us in bites, come back to us in the next episode that we can talk about possibly Swee Li and I carrying on, or we have more other subjects there as well. Thank you, Swee Li, today for our
Thank you so
introduction.
much for today, Puan
Okay.
Aisha.
And hopefully we'll
Thank you
be
to
able to
all
do
of
this
you.
again. Thank you to the audience. Take care and bye.